Hey there, Sean with Magic Texture. Today we're going to try a bit of a different video format, so let me know what you think. If you like this type of video, let us know in the comments. If you want different types of content, also let us know. It helps us out. Today we're going to be going over a little bit of a behind the scenes diagnostic and a how-to video for our bogies. So today we're going to be talking about this set of bogies. This is obviously the same set of bogies that we made for Little Thunder, the ones that we used for the Rover coaster, and also the ones that we're using currently on our prototype for Coaster in a Box. Reason behind that, when we got the call from Rover, we had 2 weeks to make the entire coaster. There just wasn't enough time to manufacture a brand new set of bogies. And since we're using it as our prototype, we've just gone with it. A couple things about our bogies, the obvious things are, you got your road wheels on the top, you got your side wheels on the side, and you got your upstop wheels on the bottom. We're utilizing two different types of wheels on this bogie set. We've got longboard wheels on the top, the upstop, and the road wheels. The ones on the bottom are really modified. We've cut them almost in half. And then we're using skateboard wheels on the side. We don't have to modify those at all. Those we sized perfectly. The reason that we're going to be talking about our road wheels today is we had an interesting situation yesterday at the property where the coaster is currently being housed. One of our friends has been gracious enough to let us use their backyard as a staging ground, and they had a big party yesterday, which was great. Lots of kids got to experience the coaster, a lot of fun. We got exactly 100 cycles in, and in the last 5 to 7 cycles, things started getting a little sluggish. We didn't know what it could be. We thought, oh, maybe the batteries are dying, because we've been going off the same charge the last 3 months. We realized after it actually valleyed in one of the turns, that one of the road wheels had actually melted off of its bearing. So this guy right here, I'm gonna just roll this in front of you so you can see just how kind of cattywampus it is. And I can actually move the wheel, let's see if I can see this, back and forth, because it can come all the way off the bearing. As opposed to this guy, which stayed on his bearings just fine. I cannot adjust that at all. It's in there housed really well. So a couple things about why we used longboard wheels for Little Thunder, why we've continued to use them. One is that they're really easy to source. These guys we just bought off of Amazon. They showed up 2 days later. Two, they're really easy to modify. So as I mentioned, the upstop wheels, we had to cut in half. Really easy to cut that on the chop saw with a little jig. The plastic polymer is really easy to go through. The second thing is, these ones especially are really soft, and so they really absorb any imperfections that we might have on the track and make the ride really smooth. That's great, but as we're thinking through what caused this wheel to come off its bearings, well, maybe that softness is something to do with it. So these wheels have a hardness of 80A. So longboard wheels, however they decide to spec out what the hardness is, whatever they use to qualify its hardness. It's this usually number 80A through maybe 90A. These ones are really soft, they're 80A. And so, as I said, the good part of that is that it absorbs imperfections on the track. The bad part is that, especially if these were melting in the sun, you'll see the wheels start to deform and degrade. And we had probably 500 runs on this set of wheels, and only the one failed. And it was running, just fine for most of the day. Why, you might wonder, why did this one fail? And I think what happened was we were doing just one cycle per rider, but towards the end of the evening, the kids wanted more excitement, more thrill. And so they asked if we could send them through 2 and 3 times. And so we started doing that. And these wheels undergo an incredible amount of friction and heat. And usually, there's a 1 to 2 minute switch out period where we're unbuckling the riders and buckling in the new riders, and it allows the wheels to cool down. when we were sending it through 3 times in a row, there was no opportunity for the wheels to cool down. And the wheels are approaching speeds of almost 20 miles an hour. So I think that that's probably what happened. So how are we going to adjust that in the future? Well, there's a couple things we could do. One is that we could swap out the same wheel for the one that broke. And maybe we look at some of the other ones that have undergone similar deformation and swap out those ones as well. And we could, 500 cycles for a backyard coaster, that's pretty good. And we could just swap out the one and see, like, is that one area the one that's having the most trouble, or maybe other ones will start to fail also. Another thing we could do, which is a little bit more drastic, and ultimately what we are going to do for the next version of the ride vehicle, is swap out these bogies completely. So again, we're recycling bogies from a previous ride for both speed and cost. The next version is going to use actual roller coaster wheels, which I'll put a picture up so you can see, but it's got more of a steel housing in the center, and then a thinner wall, maybe like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch polymer to absorb the shock, but a much more robust wheel, larger diameter. And our drawings or our plans for the actual coaster in a box has those larger wheels. That's just not a thing we're going to do right now because we'd be reinventing the wheel. So what we've done is we've ordered harder longboard wheels. So same diameter, 70 millimeters, same thickness, but you're going to see that's going to be a problem. A little later we'll handle that. But these ones are 86A hardness. So these were actually the hardest longboard wheel that I could find on the market. They came in this kind of cool yellow color, which should be pretty cool to see on the track in contrast with the red. And I think that we're going to find that this is actually going to hold up quite better. It'll be interesting to see if it actually runs the track faster, because there should be less friction on the track. There's less surface area that's actually going to bind itself to the track. So we're going to go through the process of disassembling the wheels from here, at least the road wheels. We'll also probably go through and just make sure that all the other wheels are still in good shape. They're still rotating really well. Just do some normal maintenance. And then we'll go through the process of doing the slight modifications that we need to do to these wheels to get them to fit on the wheel or on the bogies. All right, we've got a small selection of tools here that we're going to be using for this project. So an assortment of resonance and a crescent wrench, along with an impact, the right socket, to help us take apart the bolts, get the wheels off. These screwdrivers are they may seem a little excessive, but they're actually gonna help us thread the wheels through with the bearing. I'll kind of go through the process, but it's a little difficult to actually thread the wheels through. So we'll go over that a little bit later. And then we're gonna use the chop saw along with the jig that I made to help cut and modify those. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm just gonna show you what happened to this wheel here. So all of this stuff, it's just the polymer from the wheel that melted, and it's actually pretty hard right now, which is sort of interesting. But you can look in there. We'll let it focus here for a second. There we go. The bearing is like totally sunk in and is like squishy in there. Like it's not even held in there right now. So this thing was just dragging along the track. Very interesting. All right, so now that we've got our wheels cut, first step is actually to take the bearings and mount them inside the housing within the wheel. So we got these Jehu bearings. These are performance skateboard bearings. Trying to, again, get the hardest quality stuff for something that's not exactly meant for the same application. So these guys just get pressed in on one side and then on the other. Might just, you don't want to hammer the sides of your bearings really, because you can damage them. But when it's fixed, it should look something like that. And that allows our bolt to thread right through. So that's what we're doing with that. So we've got to mount all these bearings first. I noticed on the back of these bearings it says, "Not designed for horse-driven chariots." Well, ours is a battery-operated roller coaster, so I hope that counts. Oh yeah, that's nice. Yep, last bag. So I have 4 more wheels that I can use. If you notice, I only have 3 sets of wheel assemblies here. I couldn't get the 4th one off with the tools that I had, so I've got the wheels modified for that, and we'll just mount them in the field, which it's a little bit easier to do this in the shop, but you gotta work with the tools you have. So, awesome. So I do kind of want to sand this guy, but I think that's gonna work. Sure. I just want to point this out right here. I'm not sure if you can see, but you can see how the track has begun to leave an indent in the old wheels. Part of that, I think, was due to the softness, so hopefully these guys hold up a little bit better. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and mount this after I do some sanding, so stay tuned. All right, now that we've got all of our wheels cut and the edges kind of sanded down, beveled, we're good to go ahead and start attaching these. There are a couple of interesting things that we've got to do when it comes to attaching the wheels. The big thing is spacing the wheels properly between the 2 brackets that hold it. So you don't want it to be too close to one side or the other. You want it to be pretty much right in the middle. And so in order to achieve that, we've got the super official technique of using washers and bolts. So you've got to use, or nuts rather, you've got to use the nuts to get it off of the wheel so that it's out there, and then you can switch to washers. So it's going to take us a little bit of time. This is more of the tedious part. So we'll go ahead and switch over again to the time lapse because this just takes a really long time. super fun, but worth it in the end. So let's get going. All right, so now we've got all of our wheels mounted onto the bogies. We got 3 sets of bogies here. They seem like they're, running pretty good. They're free, they're tight, they're not making contact with any part of the actual housing for it. So next step is going to be to take these back to the ride vehicle and mount them. I'm also going to have to replace 2 of the wheels on that one bogie that we couldn't get off. So we'll see how this works. We'll do a little update to show you afterwards. But my hope is to get this video edited and uploaded so you can kind of see, a little bit behind the scenes how we maintain the ride vehicles and swap out the wheels. So thanks so much again. Depending on if you like this type of content or not, please comment, let us know what you think of it. We'll try to make these better in the future. It'll be a work in progress, I think, moving forward, but appreciate all you guys out there, and thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care.